My name is Jimmy Blunt, and this is my true story. When I was 18, I was a very different type of kid. I decided that my first job was going to be working at a funeral home. It wasn't the typical teenage gig, but I needed the money, and the experience seemed intriguing. After a few weeks of training, I was finally trusted to close the funeral home on my own. One evening, with about 30 minutes left until closing, I began my usual routine of ensuring everyone was out of the funeral home, turning off the lights, and locking up. As I went room to room, I noticed two women standing over one of the bodies, which was Mrs. Jackson. I didn't remember seeing them come in, but that wasn't unusual. People sometimes slipped in quietly, lost in their grief. I greeted the women, and they nodded in acknowledgement. I left the room and went to the office near the front door to wait until closing time. When it was time to lock the doors, I realized I hadn't seen the women leave. Dreading the responsibility of asking someone to leave, I got up and returned to the room where I'd seen them. To my surprise, they were gone. It was strange because the office was right by the front door, and I would have noticed if they had left. Maybe they were viewing another body, I thought. I searched the entire building, but there was no one. The only explanation I could think of was that they left through the emergency exit in the back, but why would they do that? Plus, the alarm didn't go off unless it was broken. After checking every room again, I locked up and went home, puzzled by the night's events. The next day, I told my boss about what had happened. He went to check the emergency exit, and the alarm worked perfectly fine. He then asked me a bunch of questions about the two women. When I described them, a shocked look came over his face. He pulled out some past obituaries from years ago, and there they were, the two women I had seen. Chills ran down my spine as he explained that these were Mrs. Jackson's sisters, and we had handled their funerals years ago. That was my last day at the funeral home. After that, I decided to switch to something more normal for a teenager, without ghost, like fast food.